frogbitblog.
Hello children, welcome to the frogbitblog podcast. Today we will be looking through the environmentally friendly window. I've got all my usual features as well as the naughty folk from Extinction Rebellion and lots of other weird shit. Enjoy!
The frogbitblog.
Great news! Scientists at Rutgers University, New Brunswick, have just found a way of converting carbon dioxide into other usable things. They're turning it into... plastic. Oh, yeah. Brilliant. That's what the world needs more of right now, is more plastic. Great stuff. Keep up the good work. Right, a recent report has found that humanity has wiped out 60% of animal populations since 1970. But what I was wondering is, who had the job of counting them? Imagine that, spending your time out and about looking for wild animals to count and getting paid for it. I would love that job. And the great thing about it is it will be getting easier and easier because there's actually less of them to look for. Sorry, that wasn't funny. That was just a very, very sad observation, wasn't it?
The frogbitblog.
Right, well, this isn't completely new news. New news? I saw something on a TED Talk about them, so I thought I'd look them up. It's about the discovery of some exoplanets hanging around a star nearish. Well, when I say nearish, I mean 39 light years away. I mean, 39 light years is actually, that's nothing, is it? I mean, that's just round the intergalactic corner, really. Anyway, in February 2017, the scientific journal Nature published a paper detailing the new exoplanet findings. Initial observations hinted at the existence of several tightly packed planets orbiting the ultra-cool star now known as TRAPPIST-1. Ultra-cool, eh? Well, if it was that cool, they'd have called it the Fonz. Anyway, with 3 planets confirmed, using 2 telescopes located on opposite sides of the world and 1 in space, Gillen and his team, whoever Gillen is, I should have introduced him, but carry on. Gillen and his team then found 4 more rocky planets in the TRAPPIST-1 system at the start of this year, bringing the grand total to 7. Wow, 3 and 4 make 7. They're really clever, these scientists, aren't they? And I bet they didn't even use a calculator. Anyway, it goes on to say 3 planets of which are in the Goldilocks orbits, meaning they have conditions right for life. Oh, is that what it means? It doesn't mean they've got weird hair and they steal porridge. Anyway, the most amazing thing is they've got their own website. Yep, they've got their own. There's a series of planets that have got their own website. So there must be, I mean, I think that's definite, conclusive evidence that there must be intelligent life there if they've done that, isn't it? Maybe it's a tourist thing. Maybe they're trying to get people to come over and visit because they've got their own Facebook page and they've got their own YouTube channel. Maybe that's what a YouTube star actually is, eh? Anyway, that nicely segues into this. I did some stuff about UFOs a while back and the disproportionate number of famous people that seem to have had UFOs experience. And one of them was Kim Wilde, and I got her on the show. Well, she said, and her name was Kim Wilde. She said she was the Kim Wilde, but it might not have been the Kim Wilde. You never know, do you? Anyway, she was on talking about her UFO experience when she saw some lights in the sky over London. Yeah, Heathrow Airport. Yeah, anyway, she wrote a song about it and she played it on the show. And she assured us that it sounded nothing like her one big hit, Kids in America. So remember that. It definitely sounds nothing like her one big hit. Well, I'll just play you a clip of it in case you've not heard it before and see what you think.
I live near Heathrow Airport. I see strange lights are flashing in the sky. I sit here alone and I wonder why. Look out, the UFO is coming. Look out, the UFO is coming. Aliens in America.
UFO.
Aliens in America.
So why am I bringing up UFOs? Well, there's actually UFOs have been spotted over Ireland, to be sure. Yes, the Irish Aviation Authority is investigating after an unidentified flying object was sighted by pilots flying over Ireland. On the morning of the 9th of November, the pilot of British Airways flight BA94 from Montreal called air traffic control in Shannon to report seeing an object moving past her aircraft, and asked if there was any military exercises taking place off the west coast of Ireland. It was moving so fast, she said. It came up on our left side and then rapidly veered to the north. It had very bright light that disappeared at very high speed. Now, I've done that in Irish accent. I'm not sure if she was Irish, but the plane was passing over Ireland, so maybe by osmosis she suddenly became Irish for a bit. Anyway, you could say, oh, I bet it's an optical illusion of glare on the plane windows. That's what you're probably thinking. But hang on. Other aircraft flying in the area reported the same thing. A pilot flying a Virgin Airlines plane from Orlando to Manchester described the sight as a meteor or another object making some kind of re-entry. Adding, it seemed to be multiple objects following the same sort of trajectory. Very bright from where we were. Another pilot also weighed in, saying, glad I'm not the only one. A spokesman for the Irish Aviation Authority told the Irish Times it was investigating the incident and would file a report. The spokesman added that it was unlikely to be aliens from another planet. Oh, hang on, right then, you're a desk clerk from the Irish Aviation Authority and all of a sudden you're an expert on the possibility of alien life on other planets then, are you? Anyway, I thought that was quite interesting that there'd been multiple sort of like verifications of it. And I reckon that one day aliens are actually going to turn up one day and go, bloody hell, we put you on this planet as an experiment and we just got home to Trappist 1, had a cup of tea and a quick sandwich, came back to see how you were getting on, and you made a right fucking mess, haven't you? You fell out with the neighbours. We can't leave you humans for a few millennia without you making a bloody mess. What were you bloody thinking, you daft sods? Well, talking of funny alien voices, Stephen Hawking is back again. He's become a regular visitor on here since he died, hasn't he, if you'd noticed? Now, you may think this is all in bad taste, but remember, this is the guy that had a party for time travellers and sent out invites and actually sat and waited to see anyone turned up, if anyone would turn up, and they didn't. But this is my theory. Maybe I'm a time traveller and I'm actually doing this before he dies, which then makes it marginally less bad taste. Well, if you call mocking a wheelchair user less bad taste anyway. Well, guess what? They've been auctioning off his stuff and someone bought his wheelchair for £300,000. That's about €10, if you're wondering. I hope they did the bidding in a Hawking voice. 200,000, 210, 220, 230, 260, 290, 300,000. Any advance on 300,000? Going, gone to the man with the funny voice. Or is it a funny walk? Seriously though, if you'd won, what would you do with it? Would you sit in it and imagine the great thoughts he'd been having in that chair? Now imagine if you kept sitting here and the wife or husband or civil partner, though I somehow imagine it's a bloke. In fact, I tried to find out who had bought it, but no one's owning up who bought it. So who bought Stephen Hawking's wheelchair? Come on, own up. Who was it? Anyway, they weren't expecting it to go for, they were expecting it to go for 15 grand and it went for 300 grand. And that's a lot of money. And it's not even his most recent wheelchair. Anyway, as I was saying, imagine if the bloke, who I think it's a bloke who bought it, kept getting found sat in it by his partner. How would you explain that? Sorry, dear, I was just sat in here while you were out thinking of black holes and all that clever shit.
Darling, this version didn't have the voice box, so stop putting that stupid voice on.
Sorry, my love, you are wrong. Exterminate, exterminate, exterminate. Anyway, it goes on to say the red wheelchair was used by Dr. Hawking during the late 80s and early 90s. Then he stopped using it when he could no longer steer it with his hands. So it was the late 80s, early 90s model that he swapped for a newer one. Sounds like a bit like his marriage. Ooh, that was a bit mean.
The frogbitblog.
Now, obviously, the big news and the big stories over the past couple of weeks are the Extinction Rebellion demonstrations that have been going on, culminating in a massive demo and the closing of 5 bridges in London last weekend. And there's more stuff happening this weekend as I'm recording this. So top marks for anybody that was there, anybody that got arrested, anybody that just turned up. And obviously that we're fucked. That episode is named after is the message on the banner that was hung over Westminster Bridge in the week. Short and to the point, well done there. And it is inspiring to see people passionately involved to make a difference, and let's hope it spreads. Yeah? It was good to see Jim Davidson, you know, everyone's favourite racist Tory comedian, getting held up by the protesters, and Lord Tebbit. Bully Boy Tebbit actually drove at a banner and hit one of the protesters' legs. Now, I'm not sure how hard it was, but it doesn't really matter, does it, Tory twat Tebbit? And there've been more swarming protests holding up traffic, but getting the emergency vehicles through if needed. And apparently they've also been giving out biscuits to motorists and explaining what it's all about. So great stuff. The rebellion has started. And over in America, it looks like all the new Democrats elected to Congress seem to be keen on pushing a new Green Deal for America, which is very heartening to see. Especially that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's shaken the place up. And she was part of a protest at Nancy Pelosi's office. We're here backing her up in pushing for 100% renewable energy. This is not about me. This is not about the dynamics of any personalities, she told reporters outside Pelosi's office. But this is about uplifting the voice and message of the fact that we need a Green New Deal and we need to get 100% renewables because our lives depend on it. So it's great, and she's great, isn't it? And we're pushing back. I mean, despite the fact that the fossil fuel industries are spending an absolute fortune on propaganda. Anyway, there is the smell of action in the air, and I've been following the Extinction Rebellion Twitter and Facebook accounts and sharing stuff and that, and I've noticed there are always people moaning, usually blokes, not exclusively, but one said to me, I hope I got run over. Well, there you go. You know, I know we're meant to try and talk and convert people, but honestly, I can't help being rude sometimes. But what about me? I need to get to work. Me. Anyway, I'm just heading into the future. Hi, Grandad. Hello, my little Chantel. How was school today? It was great, Grandad. Not great, Grandad. You're just Grandad. I meant it. We're great. Come on, Grandad. Anyway, our robot teacher told us today is the 50th anniversary of the Great Climate Rebellion of 2018. And we all started in London with a group called Extinction Rebellion. And robot teacher said we should talk to our grandparents and thank them for kick-starting the world into doing something about the climate so that we could be alive in a world that's not too hot. Do you remember it, Grandad? What did you do? Yeah, I remember it a bit. Robot teacher said without this group and others like it in other countries, the government wouldn't have responded and we would all probably be living in a burning hell. Or a dying one. Well, you know, it wasn't that great. Were you involved, Grandad? Did you fight so that I could be born sometime in the future? Did you get involved? Well, Chantel, it depends what you mean by got involved exactly. I suppose you could say I helped on social media. Oh, what did you do? Please tell me. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, you can't find that stuff now anyway. Of course you can, Grandad. I've got the new Embarrass Your Grandparents app for my phone, where you just type in their name, the year, and you can find all the embarrassing things that they posted on social media when they were young. No, I've never heard of that. It's brilliant. Anyway. Oh, here you are. Albert Smith. Twitter 2018. Oh, look, you posted on the Extinction Rebellion Twitter feed. They were the lot that started it, didn't they? Oh, goody. So you must have been a part of it then, Grandad. Well, no, not exactly a part of it. Anyway, it's lights out time now. It's getting late. No, look. Oh, it's here, Albert Smith. Look, this is what you said. So you think it's clever holding up traffic for hours, you bunch of fucking snowflakes? well, I was only joking. Did you get held up by the traffic, Grandad? Well, no, not exactly. We live 200 miles away, but that's not the point. If I had lived in London, then I would have done. Okay then. Here's another one. Fancy putting chalk paint all over that building, you sad hippie twats. Go and get washed and have a proper job. But we were just told it washes off, Grandad. Why didn't you say something positive? There were doctors and all sorts of people involved. Why did you lie? Well, I just thought they were daft. Daft? How was it trying to save the planet daft, Grandad? It's quite a basic sort of thing, innit? You know, not killing our life support system. I mean, it's pretty basic common sense, innit? Look, Chantel, it were different back then. We didn't know them what we now don't now, do we? Well, obviously some people did know, didn't they, Grandad? Look, my Chantel, these were rent-a-mob, professional protesters. George Soros was paying them. It was all an illiberal elite plot. If they hadn't done anything, then that Theresa May and Donald Trump would have helped us out. You are so funny, Grandad.
Frogbitblog.
Yeah, it's Len again. It's sexy Len again. Ooh, yeah, it's Len again. Ooh, yeah, it's Len again.
Right, so guess who's back? It's Len again. Len, hi.
Hello, thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, yes. As we were just discussing before the podcast started, I'm back on my bike again, if anyone was following that story.
Oh, yes, that Len hadn't ridden for how many years?
I haven't been on it for, it must be like 15 years.
15 years, and you were very nervous, and then you managed to hit something. Or something hit you.
Got a few injuries, crashed into a bit of a fence, got a few bruises. It was a bit achy to get back on it again, but now I'm back.
In the middle of winter? Well, not the middle of winter.
I do pick my times, don't I?
Yeah. So how's that going?
It's good. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's again a bit cold. I've got the gear now though, so
You've got all the gear, all the panniers.
I think exactly. Yes, so I feel a bit better about it. I think I need some better shoes potentially, some better gloves because the extremities is what gets a bit cold.
Yeah. So how far are you cycling?
It's about 9 miles each way, so about 18.5 mile round trip.
That's pretty good.
Not too bad.
That's pretty good.
Not bad.
Yeah. Is it getting you fit?
I think so. I haven't noticed much in the way it changes. I need to cut more beer out to make that a bit more of an impact. But
are you going to try and do all winter? Or are you going to stop when it gets really...
When it gets crazy bad, I think I'll probably stop and I'm going to swap it with kettlebells, I think. Actually.
Yeah, well, you're going to come to work on kettlebells.
That'll be weird, rolling down the hill. But no, I'll get the bus in and I'll probably do that instead.
For anyone who's interested in cycling to winter, I made a great discovery last year. People probably already know it. Is ice tyres that you can get, which have got little rivets in, absolutely covered in rivets. And we had a bad winter up here last winter from December right through to March, and people were coming off all over the place. And I went to work every day in the ice and snow, and it was really icy, and it kept me on. I only had one on my front wheel. I mean, my back tyre was sliding all over the place, but the front tyre actually held on. So if you want to keep going, look out for some ice tyres. They're quite cool.
Maybe I will.
Okay, so moving on. What have we been looking at this week? I found this article, actually. You're a bit of a photographer type arty person, aren't you?
I like my film, I like my photography. I tend to go with moving images, but I certainly appreciate photography.
Yeah, and it's an article about visualising climate change and making it relevant to most people, because that's the problem we've got, isn't it? Is that we know there's a huge problem, but it's like trying to get the majority of the public to engage with it. And this a company called Climate Visuals has been doing some research and found out that, what turns people on and what doesn't turn people on visually to taking the environment seriously. And it says you have to have images without people on them are unable to tell a human story. So they did some research, and there's a picture of a lad on his bike with a mask on in this smog-ridden city. Looks better than just some chimneys pumping out smoke. It doesn't humanise it all. Other one was someone searching for survivors in a helicopter over somewhere in America, and it just showed all the houses sort of flooded in water, and it gives people a sense of, yeah, God, this could be us, sort of thing.
And when it comes to obviously any form of visual storytelling, one of the number one rules of actually telling a story when it comes to photography or anything like that is to include people within that shot, because it instantly humanises it, instantly links to what people's feelings are. And I tend to hope that most people, and I do believe that most people have a lot of empathy. And if you feel for that particular person, then it links into the story that they're actually talking about. So I think it does have a lot more impact. I think the problem is that it's still maybe not enough. No, that's what I'm concerned about.
No, because as I said in last episode's podcast, I was talking to Dawn about it, and in the northeast, it's not really and climate change hasn't affected us. All right, we had a bad cold spell, but the summer was actually bearable. It was actually nice because you can't really sit out in the northeast at night. Yeah. But last year, for the first time, you could, and if you lived in the northeast, you'd be going, "Oh, it's not actually bad, this climate change, is it?" Indeed. And I think when things start getting really bad, we'll probably be one of the last places to be affected, but it's still making people in Britain realise that there's a problem.
Still makes me think about if I wanted a new house, I'd want it slightly above sea level.
Well, yeah.
is one thing. But also, we've seen the quayside of Newcastle flooded several times.
Yes, it gets.
But it's all there, and it all has a knock-on effect. Yeah.
So anyway, another thing we were looking at, we've been doing quite a bit on farming, haven't we? And we talked about the example we used was in California or something, because it was near the. What's it called? Silicon Valley.
Yes, indeed. Oh, yes, indeed. Yeah. I mean, we do tend to focus a lot, and a lot of the research does come out of the US, but occasionally it comes out of the UK as well.
Yeah, and there's some in Britain started. There's a robot called Rachel that's going round the farms of Britain, or one farm. Apparently, they only cost $2,000, these robots, and it's actually started off by weeding. It's doing quite simple jobs, but it's weeding, and it's been weeding the broccoli apparently. And I was reading in this article, it says that up to then they used to have a tractor with a sort of like a trailer on the back, and people lying off the back of the trailer as the tractor moved really slowly, pulling the weeds out by hand.
It's efficient, isn't it? Probably hurt your back quite a lot.
I know. Well, I mean, the thing is as well, we probably used East Europeans to do it, but they're not going
to do that.
They're going to left, so we're going to have to use robots.
Indeed. I mean, I think automation's been around for a very, very long time, and especially within farming. They're one of the pioneers in that industry. Yeah. But it tends to happen on quite a large scale. And everyone's been thinking about, right, it's all about automation of tractors for doing the big harvesting jobs. What about the little continual jobs? And obviously, as a gardener, that weeding is something that you've got to do all year round, constantly. Yeah. And I think that's now, it's the little jobs, it's the smaller jobs that would have normally been done by quite dexterous human fingers, are now being given to robots that are now becoming more dexterous, or using things like lasers to zap them.
Yeah, and what it's interesting, what this article in The Guardian was saying about it, it gives the small farmers equal footing with the large farmers, as you don't need to have that production, the scale thing is that it will help the small farmers equally. Indeed. Which is what we want really, because we do want to, for any system to work efficiently, properly, it's got to be like lots of small farmers, hasn't it, Ron? These big agribusinesses.
Indeed.
Because, that's the main worry in this country, and you've got it to a extent in America, and you see these pictures of just thousands and thousands of cattle crammed into a small area, and we haven't got that at the moment, but you can imagine it won't be long, especially when we leave the EU, when we start doing a trade deal with America, and we're going to be buying American thing and importing more sort of American farm practices and stuff.
Indeed. It's a good thing that these technologies are becoming more affordable, which is a really good thing. And I think it's often even stuff like computer game technology is now being used in things like in small vehicles and robots such as this. Even something like you might have had a Microsoft Kinect in your house or something like that. That kind of technology is now being used in things like doing geographical surveys, going into volcanoes. It's being used for farming equipment, that kind of thing. It's even built into your iPhone now with face recognition and things like that. So this technology is becoming more and more affordable. It would have been thousands and thousands of pounds. Now prototypes have moved into the hundreds of pounds.
Yeah, and every farm will be able to afford a little robot.
Well, let's see. Well, most people are still already moving over to different forms of automation, but everyone's got an incredibly powerful computer in the pockets now, so the possibilities are kind of endless, really.
Completely.
And also you've got Raspberry Pis as well, which only can range from £15, and you can build your own.
What's a Raspberry Pi? It's not a Pi. It's not a Raspberry Pi. What is it?
Very small computer, basically. Often about the size of what you'd see as a normal thumb drive that you used to carry around. Just a circuit board. You buy your own box for it, then you can do your own programming jobs for it. So you can build an alarm system out of it. You can build a small toy. You can build a bit of farming equipment. Anyone can build anything with it, really. And you just buy the little extensions to sort of play around with it.
Oh, wow. And at some point you'll just be able to buy something that can, AI that will be able to self-program.
Well, you already can. You can use Google's and Amazon's AI sort of languages are already available to you for you to use on a certain level. So.
Well, the last one we were going to look at, vertical farms. There's quite a bit going on there. Have you mentioned these before?
I think I might have, yeah. It was more of the underground ones that they're doing in things like Manchester and London.
Because there's a picture here of someone, a vertical lettuce, a vertical wall of lettuce.
Very pretty, isn't it?
Yeah. And it is possibly one of the ways forward, isn't it? Because there's that whole, the UN said, was it last year, that we've got like 40 harvests left because of the degradation of soil. I think we've got an extra 10, 20 years in Britain because we don't have the same monsoons and downpours of the country to wash it away. But you can see that's where farming is going to go, isn't it? It's going to be much more efficient, much more sort of based in factories and that sort of thing. Yeah. And reading that article, the main problem was they couldn't use real sunlight because it was indoors. And the main cost was going to be LED lighting, and it used a lot more energy. But I suddenly thought, well, how can you get power from the sun? Well, all it takes is if we switch over to solar power, and these things are solar powered, it's just converting the outside sun into inside sun.
It's just all about cost and scaling, I suppose, isn't it? And seeing the benefits of it. I mean, if it's an absolute necessity, it will become a necessity. It doesn't involve much soil. It's very, very good for controlling pests and things like that.
Yes.
It's also increases shelf life for all of these products, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to see this on a smaller scale, kind of like in the corner shop almost. If you think about it, imagine just had a small kind of setup.
Well, I'd seen a few. I think it was in New York where it was just a little local sort of veg growing thing that they had in the middle of the city where you could go, and of course you can buy it fresh, and there's not all them transport costs or all the carbon issues associated with that.
With anything that's new, of course, we haven't got the research there yet to see what kind of environmental impacts the whole process will take. So it's kind of still in the experimental stages, but quite interesting. And obviously you can do this stuff underground, above the ground, in warehouses. You can do it anywhere.
On Mars, probably, if it's left to Elon Musk. Anyway, Len, we've rambled on for over 10 minutes, but that's great. Thank you for coming in once again, and keep cycling. Don't fall off your bike again.
Do my very
lovely
best.
To speak to you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Land, ooh, land, ooh, sexy land, ooh, land, yeah, land, great land.
Look, I have a confession to make. I love all animals, and I have a soft spot for birds and always have done. And if you're a long-term listener, you'll know we keep chickens. We've got rescued chickens. It used to be battery hens, and they get sent to slaughter after 18 months. So an organisation called British Hens Trust rescues them and finds them home. Well, we've got 4 of them at the moment. And although I love them to bits, I've always thought they were, a bit thick, actually, if I'm really honest. They're lovely, cute, but they're not the most intelligent bird in the woods, if you know what I mean. And I feel really bad for saying that, so don't hold it against me. It's just that they're the Trump supporters of the bird world. And by that, I mean they're a bit thick. I don't mean that they're racist, gullible fools. But anyway, it turns out I was wrong about chickens, so listen up. Some birds are now known to be on a par with many mammals in their intelligence, emotional sophistication and social interaction. I know we've been talking about Alex the parrot for weeks on this show. Unfortunately, the world has been slow to associate the science with chickens. And listen up further, chickens possess some understanding of numerosity and share some very basic arithmetic capacities with other animals. Chickens can demonstrate self-control and self-assessment, and these capacities may indicate self-awareness. They sound better than most of my students, to be honest. Chickens communicate in complex ways, including through referential communication, which may depend on some level of self-awareness and the ability to take the perspective of another animal. This capacity, if present in chickens, would be shared with other highly intelligent and social species, including primates. Chickens have the capacity to reason and make logical inferences. For example, chickens are capable of simple forms of transitive inference, whatever that means, a capacity that humans develop at approximately the age of 7. Oh, right, so they're the same as humans age 7 in their transitive inference capabilities. And chickens perceive time intervals and may be able to anticipate future events. Chicken ESP. Chickens have complex negative and positive emotions, as well as shared psychology with humans and other ethologically complex animals. They exhibit emotional contagion, whatever that means, and some evidence of empathy. Well, there you go. And it finally goes on to say, chickens have distinct personalities, just like all animals who are cognitively, emotionally, and behaviorally complex individuals. But we all knew that anyway, didn't we? So chickens, I'm sorry for dissing you. So it's not chickens are thickens, it's...
Chickens are clever, are really, really clever. Chickens are clever, are really, really clever. Chickens are clever, are really, really clever. Chickens are clever, are really, really clever.
Right, I've been reading a fair bit about psilocybin at the moment, and if you've been listening, you'd know that, wouldn't you? About the medical benefits. And the one that got me, though, I think was the fact that it helped cancer patients cope with death, which I thought was a wonderful use of any drug, because nothing else really works in the same way. That's the point. They tried them on all sorts of antidepressants, and it didn't work in the same way as psilocybin. When I was looking it up a bit more on YouTube, a couple of psilocybin talks came up and watched them, and one was a bit more technical. And the second one, which I watched, I'm going to talk about, was brilliant. And it was this impassioned speech by a fella that's been involved in drug enforcement and devising drug policy in Canada for 40 years. And he was a very straight, sensible old fella. And I'm going to put the link for the speech in the show notes because I think you should all watch it. But in case you can't be asked, I'll just summarise it. Anyway, what we forget about psilocybin is it's been used for over 6,000 years, and most cultures have a mushroom associated with it, or mushroom that provides psilocybin. And these cultures have used it in a communal and spiritual sense. And it's only when it became part of the counterculture in the 60s that it was banned, that it was used as a recreational sense. And not only was it banned to the public, but it was banned to science. And it's only the past 3 or 4 years that science has been allowed to start testing its efficacy. And the results so far seem to show that it is an incredible drug. It's known that one dose can be effective for lots of ailments such as depression. Now imagine that. It's unheard of in any other medicine for a drug to be so effective after a single dose. So it's absolutely pretty unique. And in the next few years, it looks like it will be probably approved by drug agencies. Imagine a time not too far off when you go to a specialist psilocybin clinic in a beautiful location and get guided on a trip to help you reconnect with the world and sense of community. And the guy was sincerely arguing maybe that was needed in the world right now. And the amazing thing about it is they test drugs on 3 things. One is toxicity, and it has no toxicity. The other thing is addiction, and it has no addiction. And the final thing that they always worry about drugs is behavioural. So that was why he suggests that if you have guided psilocybin sort of experiences, that the behavioural's covered. And he does think that in the next few years is that it should be available to everyone, to maybe help enlighten everyone. But I'm going to put the links in the show notes, and it is interesting, isn't it? So, is it
Okay to talk about drugs. Is it okay? Don't do it anyway. Is it okay to talk about?
I've not done one of these for a while. But although he's rich, he definitely isn't a posh twat. And this is someone who is using his fame and some of his fortune to add intelligent discussion to lots of areas. And that fella is Ricky Gervais. If you've seen his live shows, I mean, there's a great one about evolution and the ark, and you can find lots of clips talking about religion versus science. But more and more, I've been noticing all the stuff he says about animals. You know, cruelty to animals, trophy hunting, fox hunting, goodwill hunting. No, just a bit of a joke there. But, you know, people complain when celebrities stick up for causes, but then they complain where they're vacuous and opinionless. But give me a celebrity with opinion and a cause any day. Well, apart from Kanye West, obviously. I mean, that White House appearance, he looked a bit mental, really, didn't he? As Ricky Gervais would say, a bit mental. No, but Ricky Gervais constantly using his huge following and fan base to further important issues. And he donates to animal causes, and he's just won an award. Yeah, he's just won an award. He's just won an award. The Humane Society International First Cecil Award on the HSUS to the Rescue Animals Gala in New York City. The award recognises Ricky's global advocacy against animal trophy hunting and his outspoken, heartfelt crusades for so many animal issues. And someone else pointed out on Twitter that he was now worth 110 million quid, sort of gloating, oh, you're worth a load of money. And Ricky Gervais replied, yes, and it's all going to animal charities when I die. So good on you, Ricky. Another example of...
Rich people doing good eco things. Rich people doing good eco things. Rich people doing good eco things. It's not where you're from, it's where you're at. And you can't help it if you're a posh rich twat.
Italian hunter falls off cliff. I wonder what Cliff had to say about it, eh? Got myself a crying, falling, screaming, bawling, dying troll. Anyway, an Italian big game hunter who's been photographed gloating over the carcasses of dead lions and weird shit like that has died. How about that, eh? Infamous lion killer falls 100 feet to his death during hunt. Well, at least he was infamous and not famous. Anyway... An Italian veterinarian and hunter who found infamy online last year due to photos of him posing with a lion he'd recently killed, slipped on ice and fell 100 feet to his death while on a hunt. Luciano Ponzetto, 55, was hunting birds in the hills near Turin before he slipped and fell into a ravine, killing him instantly. Killing him instantly? Oh, that's a bit of a shame. Anyway, I hope at the bottom of the ravine was a pack of wolves taking selfies next to him, posting it on Facebook or whatever wolves use for social media. I'm not sure. And the thing is, he's a vet. Would you really take your beloved dog or whatever animal for treatment to a man who likes killing animals? Well, he wouldn't anymore, obviously. Nevertheless, before his death... Now, this is what it says in the paper. Before his death. Well, obviously it was before his death. They don't need to put that, do they? Before his death, Ponzetto maintained that, I know that I have done nothing wrong. I am being criticised by people who do not know me. I have always loved my work and I have always loved animals. Well, Ponzetto, there's a few more animals gonna love you a lot more now you can't go around killing them, eh? So, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ooh, good, I hope it hurt, I hope it hurt, ha 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 ha. Ooh, good, I hope it hurt, I hope it hurt a lot. Hey! Ooh, good, I hope it hurt, I hope it hurt, ha 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 ha. Ooh, good, I hope it hurt, I hope it hurt a lot. Hey!
Right, that's all I've got time for. I hope you've enjoyed the show. So, if you can get involved in the Extinction Rebellion, and if you can't get involved, think about donating to the cause to provide funds. Well, that's all then. I will speak to you soon. Bye.
Blog. Frogbitblog. The Frogbitblog. Frogbitblog. The Frogbitblog.